Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new edition of Let's Talk Supercars. This is a special episode because of course this will be mine, Repco Bathurst 1000 report. In this I'll be recapping what happened in the race, and then I'll quickly run through the results, and then finish off with some news from the mountain. So let's get straight into it with lap 1. Alright, so lap 1 was pretty crazy. Holdsworth got a really good start from the line. Managed to get the lead pretty quickly from James Moffat, who didn't quite get a good start like him. Greg Murphy also got a pretty decent start from 4th. He was able to get up to 2nd ever so briefly. He went alongside Fabian Coulthard heading into turn 1. Of course, he was on the outside and in consequence didn't get the traction he wanted, due to the massive puddle on the exit, and lost a few positions there. He dropped down to 4th, back where he started. Greg Murphy wasn't the only experienced driver to have some trouble with the puddle. Jamie Whincup, 7-time champ, first time co-driving, first Bathurst where he isn't a full-time driver in a long time. He didn't get off to a great start. He wheel spun quite a bit heading off that puddle, lost the control of his rear a little bit, and in doing so he collided with Perkins' car. Perkins basically spun and knocked Whincup out, and they both spun quite a while actually, and Whincup surprisingly got no damage whatsoever from it. Perkins not so much. His front left was damaged pretty badly. Luckily he was able to go back out, and not too far down. I think he was a lap down, I could be wrong, but they were able to bounce back. Zach Best tried to get out of the way, but in doing so he hit the wall pretty hard on the left hand side, and because of that they had to retire the car. So that was Tickford's first retirement of the day, and not their last, unfortunately. Basically because of that going on, it was peak hour traffic stuff at the back of the grid. If you saw on the replays, you can see the onboards. I think Michael Caruso just smashed into the rear of his teammate. I think Tyler Everingham was in the car at the time. He unfortunately had nowhere to go. He got massive front end damage. I think it was just cosmetic, because after the second restart they taped him back up again. That car looked pretty second-hand after that, but unfortunately there was nowhere to go for him. Like I said, Whincup got away with it, and race control found it as a racing incident, so no further action was taken there. So the first restart of the day went fairly cleanly up until the last sector. Zane Goddard lost control at the end of the chase. He locked his locked his fronts and went straight on. And he lost complete control, but he was on the grass due to the aquaplaning, and he rejoined the track pretty dangerously, and he had a massive collision with Dale Wood and Matty Campbell. It was a shocking accident. Glad everyone's okay to begin with. Cars not so much. It did look like a graveyard out there. Michael Caruso was spun around trying to evade the cars in front of him. No damage was done there. Now, my opinion, there's a lot of talk going on with Zane Goddard. Maybe a lot of people are taking it way too far. That he doesn't deserve the abuse, and the shocking comments people have been saying about him. My honest opinion is, yes, he should not have gone. That shouldn't have happened at all. It was way too early in the race to make a move like that. It was too ambitious. He should have backed off, because I reckon he could have gone. If he had the pace, he could have waited and overtook, I think, Murphy. He could have overtaken Murphy probably at turn 1 the following lap or so. There's a long race, plenty of opportunity to do that, and unfortunately it is what it is. He locked the fronts. and just went straight on, and unfortunately it led to a massive crash. A lot of drivers retiring from the race, a lot of money being wasted. It's just one of those things, really. I think he'll obviously learn from it and move on, and I think we should all do the same as well. But it is a real shame to see, especially so early on in the race. Now there is some news regarding him, and I'll get into that later on. Yeah, it was a real shame to see car number 8 especially getting caught in that. I reckon that was BJR's best car. That was their top leading car, and unfortunately to get taken out like that so early on in the race is just sad, because I believe Heimgartner and Wood were in for a good shot this weekend. I reckon they were definitely in the chance of getting a podium, I reckon, for sure. So it's just so disappointing to see that happen. So of course the next restart happened, the second of 8, which is crazy. The second restart happened, and it was finally clean. They finally had a clean lap. The rain began to fall on lap 12-ish, but it only on the top of the mountain. Basically the first sector was sunshine, which is, just sums up the mountain really. But the rain didn't really last long. It kind of went away fairly quickly. Within 10 laps it disappeared and never came back. Lap 17, our third restart of the day, a third safety car of the day was deployed after car 56 went off at the end of the chase and got caught in the grass, which I'm going to be honest isn't really surprising. That car, I think, has been off track the most out of the whole entire entry list. All I remember in practice sessions and qualifying, you just see car 56 off track, which is a shame, but it is what it is. So the third safety car period provided an opportunity for all drivers to come in for their first stop of the day, the first of 7. Many drivers took the opportunity to do so. I believe all of them. I'm not sure if all of them did or not. It provided the Irwin car to be repaired. Basically, they just band-aided it and sent it on its way. Cam Waters hopped in car number 6. Matt Payne also hopped in. Dylan O'Keefe hopped in the subway entry, which was pretty speedy this weekend, which is brilliant to see. During that safety car period, car 97 copped a 5-second time penalty due to an unsafe pit release. He cut in front of Alex Davison. I think Alex had to evade there in order to had to slow down in order to let him through. Otherwise, there was going to be contact, and of course, that is unsafe release there. So he had to serve that in his next stop, and he didn't actually get to serve it for a while due to more safety cars. We'll get into that. Yeah, so after the restart, cars got underway once again. There was a pretty cool battle between car 25 and car 6. They were basically inseparable for a while, for the first quarter of the race. Basically, they kept overtaking each other, going back and forth all the time. It was really cool to see. Pretty great racing, fairly clean as well. But Cam Waters came on top. And then he just eventually passed Alberto for the lead, and on lap 28, and led for a while there. Shortly after, Alex Davison, he got stuck in the grass at the end of the chase, similar to Kostecki and Goddard. Alex locked the front, heading down the chase, and just went off on his own and aquaplaned into the wall. I don't think there was too much damage other than an ugly looking car afterwards. They were able to go back out shortly after. So of course I brought the 4th safety car of the day, which was pretty crazy considering we're only like 30 laps in the race and we're not even a quarter into the race and there's already been 4 safety cars, which is crazy. But Declan Fraser led the restart the first time ever, which is pretty cool. Would have been a daunting experience, of course, when Cam Waters is behind him. On lap lap 41, Mostert got into a bit of a heated battle between Brody Kostecki. Of course, Kostecki and Mostert were in the cars at this time. They kept tapping each other, and Gisbergen, lap 36, they were heading down the straight, and Gisbergen was telling on the radio, telling Mozzie to calm down, or saying he should calm down, after he kept colliding with, he kept touching Kostecki on the straight, which could have gone ugly, but they're both experienced drivers. But Gisbergen took the opportunity to do a double overtake, first on Mozzie and then at the end of the chase on Kostecki, and then once he was ahead he just went, but unfortunately Mostert, he got held up with Kostecki in front, and he got held up for a while there, I believe, and then he kept getting held up later on in the race as well. Lap 41, Tim Blanchard in the Cool Drive entry went off. Actually, he made contact with Nick Percat, and unfortunately got stuck in the barriers at Forest Elbow, which brought out you won't believe it, brought out the 5th safety car on lap 41. Not sure actually what happened there. I think no further action happened, I believe. I'm not too sure if car number 2 got penalty or not. He tried to make the move down the inside at Forest Elbow. There was nowhere to go and Tim just went off. They've had a shocking weekend, car number 3. They started last. They've had a lot of problems. They've been nowhere all weekend. They had an air jack issue, Saturday. And they just haven't had any luck this weekend, unfortunately. Hopefully they can have a better result in Gold Coast, but yeah, pretty disappointing for them. So after the 5th restart of the day, Kostecki got into a bit of a heated battle with James Moffat and ended up spinning Moffat around. I'm not sure, there's a lot of debate going on as well with this one as well. In my opinion, he was up far enough. He was up to the B pillar, in my opinion, from the footage we've received, and I think race control agreed because there was no further action from that. But there was a bit of a heated communication going on in the race. I think Moffat called Kostecki a dickhead. It just got a little heated, but all is well later on. So on lap 57, the 6th safety car of the day was deployed after Macaulay Jones got stuck in the kitty litter heading into the pit lane, and I'm not sure if he hit the barrier or not, but he did get wedged in there, and unfortunately the safety car had to come out. Jake Kostecki and Greg Murphy have a little bit of a moment heading into turn 2. Jake spins Murph around, and Murph, being the expert that he is, was able to spin it around fairly quickly and get back into action. And in consequence to the collision with Greg Murphy, he copped a 15-second penalty for that incident. Shortly after the Greg Murphy incident, James Golding, after running 5th position, he was doing so well, and unfortunately he had some splitter issues, which affected his performance deeply. And I think after he had a pit stop, and they replaced it, which is a shame because that brought him all the way down to the back the pack, which is a shame considering they've been performing really well all weekend. Heading into Forest Elbow, Nick Percat had a bit of a moment, downshifting into second place. I don't know what happened there. He made a driver error. I think that's what he said. And as he went to downshift, he locked the rears and hit the wall heading into Forest Elbow, and then got stuck into the barriers. He managed to get going again, but he drove the car back into pit lane sideways, which is a real shame because they had a really good car, and he kept saying all weekend how brilliant the car felt. So it was a real shame to see that. On lap 81, car 100 had a 67 pit stop after having drama with one of their front left brake change. On the same lap, Matt Charter's car team also had same problem as well. On a lap 101, Shane Van Gisbergen hopped in the car to finish off the race. Tander completed all his minimum laps that he needed. Lap 119, our seventh safety car, there's too many. Our seventh safety car was deployed after Todd Hazelwood wedged his truck assist Commodore into the barriers at turn 2, which is a real shame. He tried his best to get out, but unfortunately he just couldn't. He went way too fast heading into that corner. I think locked the front, broke way too late, and unfortunately got wedged. And during that safety car period, Shane Van Gisbergen got new brakes, and so he had fresh brakes for the restart, and he was able to get off to a brilliant start. He's usually pretty good with the restarts. On lap 128, Cam Waters makes a move on Brock Feeney after a pretty cool battle. Brock Feeney made a mistake and ran wide, and Cam Waters took advantage of that and got ahead of him. On lap 142, Will Davison, after exiting pit lane for a brake change, he locked the rears heading into turn 2, and just like everyone else, hits hard into the tyre barrier at turn 2. Now, Will Davison actually retired from the race. He hopped out, and that's actually Alex Davison's first retirement, I think ever around the mountain, which is a shame. It breaks a long streak, but it is what it is. They were saying it could have been front brake damage, front brake drama. They didn't put it on properly, but I think Will stated that he just made a mistake. So that's unfortunate. Especially, it's an unfortunate result for DJR's 1000th race. I was really hoping they would do well. I believe they were in contention for a win this weekend, or a podium finish. It's a shame to see that end like that. So, of course, the 8th safety car, which was the final one, thank God, was deployed with 20 laps to go, which basically gave everyone a fuel advantage, and it was basically because of that safety car, and that was a sprint to the end. As Brody Kostecki went to leave pit lane, he had some issues with the pickup truck that was heading on track. Now that truck was heading off the racing line, but as Kostecki went to exit pit lane, he had to do evasive maneuver to get away from the truck, and in doing so, Mostert was able to get past. It's just one of those things, unfortunately. Just bad luck. So with 15 laps to go, the 8th restart occurred. Shane Van Gisbergen got off to a brilliant start. Cam Waters also got off to a flying start as well. He was able to overtake Kostecki for 3rd. So Chaz Mostert almost bins it, heading into the exit of turn 1 with 8 to go. Trying to chase down Shane Van Gisbergen. He went a little too hard, broke a little too late, I think, at turn 1, and went into the dirt briefly. He was able to catch it, but it was pretty scary moment. I'm sure he needed a new pair of undies for that one. And then after that, the checkered flag waved, and Shane van Gisbergen was able to hold on Mostert for the win. And Shane van Gisbergen and Garth Tander are the final ever winners for Holden around the mountain. It's also Gizzy's 73rd win, which is pretty cool. Mostert followed behind, with Cameron Waters rounding up the top 3. So yeah, that's basically what happened in the race. I do apologise if this is a bit all over the shop. I am reading from just some notes I wrote throughout the race. So let's just have a quick look at the results. So yeah, obviously Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander are your 2020 Bathurst champions, followed by Mostert and Coulthard. Pretty cool result from them again. They were very strong last year, and it shows that they're very strong again this year. Cameron Waters and James Moffat rounded up the top 3. Now, there is some positive to this. He may have not got a win, but they're not second. So they did break that streak. So there you go. You got what you wanted, but you didn't. Brodie Kostecki and David Russell in 4th. Pretty brilliant result for him and Erebus. Brock Feeney and Jamie Whincup 5th. I think I predicted they'll finish around there, so that's all right. Holdsworth and Matty Payne. Holdsworth's final full-time Bathurst drive. Pretty great drive from him and Matty, especially when it's Payne's first Bathurst as well. Pretty cool result to come home in 6th. 7th, Di Pasquale and D'Alberto, the only DJR finisher. 8th position was the first wild card on top, with Craig Lowndes and Declan Fraser. Amazing result from them, especially when they've never driven. This is their first. Well, Lowndes is driven, but this is his first race of the year. Declan Fraser's first ever Bathurst, and to come home in 8th is a pretty amazing result. They should be proud. Bryce Forward and Dean Fury, the leading BJR car, came home in 9th position. And rounding up the top 10 was Will Brown and Jack Perkins, which is pretty good, especially after their first lap incident. And followed behind them is our second wild card in the hands of Richie Stanaway and Greg Murphy. Amazing result by them. I'm so pleased that they were able to finish as high as they did. They were on for a top 10, but unfortunately they had a double stack incident. They had to double stack behind the super cheap wild card during one of their pit stops, which cost them a bit. Now 12th is James Golding and Dylan O'Keefe. They were pretty strong all weekend, like I said. They were running 5th and 6th around there for a while there, until they had some splitter issues, and they just fell back after that, unfortunately. But good recovery. 13th was Macaulay Jones and Jordan Boys. They've been all right. They've been all right this weekend. They've been caught up in a few incidents as well. So pretty solid result by them. 14th was Jack LeBrock and Aaron Seaton. Now, there wasn't a lot of talk there wasn't a lot going on about them. You didn't see a lot of them on the TV. But solid result. They will be bringing it home, and I think Aaron should be proud of that for his first Bathurst. Mark Winterbottom and Michael Caruso came home in 15th. Not a great weekend for them. They didn't have a lot of pace going on, which is a shame, but it is what it is. 16th, their teammate Scotty Pye and Tyler Everingham. They weren't really anywhere this weekend either of this race, unfortunately. Fairly clean though. They didn't get a lot of TV action, which is good, I guess, for your first time in the hands of Tyler Everingham. Oh, sorry, it's not his first time, but it was a solid result, I suppose. but I'm a bit disappointed. I wish they could do a bit better than that. 17th was the Kostecki brothers. Bit of a disappointing weekend overall for them. They just kept going off track all the time. But in 18th was the Caltex Young Stars, which is an amazing result in my opinion. Being a privateer team, their first time, either of them, in the main game on the mountain. So they should, all of them in the team should be proud for that. And they finished on the lead lap as well, which was cool. And 19th, Tim Slade and Tim Blanchard in the Cool Drive entry, the last drivers to finish on the lead lap. Bit of a disappointing weekend for them. Just got bad luck really, but onwards and upwards from there. 20th, Todd Hazelwood and Jaden Ojeda. Of course, they had that crash turn 2. 21, Chris Pither and Cameron Hill. Of course, Cameron Hill was first time on the mountain in the main game. I think they were fairly clean. I didn't see much of them. 22, Nick Percat and Warren Luff. Of course, that luckily good thing they were able to go out after that crash that Nick had. But a bit of a disappointing result considering where they could have been. I believe they were in the chance for a possible top 5, I reckon. So a bit of a disappointing one for them. But again, like everyone else, onward and upwards to the Gold Coast. Now, and that's all the finishers that finished the race. Of course, the Davison brothers retired, Jack Smith and Jackson Evans. Bit disappointing that they weren't able to, Jackson wasn't able to finish his first Bathurst. James Courtney and Zane Goddard, of course, they had that crash. And then Humgartner and Wood, Reynolds and Campbell, and then Randall and Best rounding up the 28 grid car field. So yeah, that's all the results there. Bit of an up and down weekend for some. Yeah. So now let's quickly get on to the news before we wrap this up. So in the aftermath of the crash with Zane Goddard and the Penrite Mustang in the BJR car, Goddard was fined $10,000 for causing it. I believe he will pay $5,000 now, and then $5,000 has been suspended till the end of the year, I believe. But also because of that crash, James Courtney will be running a spare chassis in Gold Coast, as it is unrepairable. It won't be repaired in time for it. And last but not least, Richie Stanaway has stated that he's on the market for a full-time seat next year, which is pretty amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. He had considering he had a rough start to his supercar career, so I hope he can find a seat. I reckon after a good performance like that, especially in the qualifying, I reckon he has a chance to maybe end up in one of the Matt Stone racing entries, or one of the Premier Hire racing entries as well. I don't think there's too many grid spots available now, but yeah, I hope he can find a seat. I hope we see him again. He definitely deserves it, that's for sure. So yeah, that was my Bathurst recap. I do apologise if it's all over the shop. I will get better over time, but hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, so now I believe it's 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks until the Gold Coast 500. And we'll see if, I wonder if Shane Van Gisbergen can round up the championship there. He's pretty close to rounding it up. I think he was 571 points between Cam Waters, and he needed to be 600 to be clear of him to win the championship at Bathurst. But the championship fight continues on to Gold Coast. So yeah, so if you enjoyed that, of course, leave a like rating, and stay tuned for more Let's Talk Supercar videos.